markets were quite a mix in trade at the close of last week. Stocks were struggling on the back of a resurgence in the COVID wave, especially sweeping across Europe. Tech shares, though, continued to gain as yields fell, and weekly, on a weekly basis, the indices were quite a mix on the back of strong earnings as well as retail numbers. So those numbers came in quite well. However, COVID was a dampener, so quite mixed for indices overall. 95% of S&P 500 companies have now declared their September 2021 results, and 81% of these companies have declared results which were better than street estimates. So overall, the results seem to be good, retail numbers seem to be good. However, COVID seems to be the dampener around here. The Dow was down around 0.75% to end the week on Friday, and was down 1.3% through last week. The S&P 500 was down around 15 basis points on Friday, however, gained 1/3% through last week. And the Nasdaq, which closed above the 16,000 mark for the first time, was up around 0.4% on Friday and was up over 1% through last week. The Dow Futures have risen to start this week off. So looks like a mixed set of numbers overall. When you look at European markets as well, they closed lower as well, especially given that Austria has now gone into a lockdown. Investors were concerned, of course, over lockdowns across Europe, given the latest wave of COVID. The ECB President Lagarde said that the ECB should not tighten policy as it could hamper the recovery going forward. UK October sales, retail sales, were better than expected, and that meant that hopefully this week should be better than expected. The DAX was down around 0.4%. The FTSE was down almost 0.5% in trade on Friday. The CAC 42 was down 0.4%, and the Stock 600 was down around 1/3% on Friday. When you look at Asia as well, Asia closed Friday in the green except the Hang Seng, which was dragged largely by Alibaba, which posted a little lower than expected results, which meant that the stock was a drag on the index. But other than that, both the Nikkei as well as the Kospi were up over 0.5% in trade, and the Shanghai closed 1% plus higher. Asian stocks have started this week's trade quite mixed, and when you look at how Asia has opened in early trade today in the morning, it shows that the Nikkei is down around 1/5%. The Shanghai is up over 0.5%. The Hang Seng continues downwards, down around 1/5%. The SGX 200 down over 1/3%, and the Kospi is up over 1%. So really mixed trends coming out of this one. And when you look at how the SGX Nifty is doing, it's up over 0.5% as well in early trade today, which is positive news for Indian markets, of course. Oil has touched $75.50 a barrel. I mean, falling fast there, especially given the US, China, Japan triumvirate expected to announce a release of oil reserves, some kind of agreement coming in there to counter OPEC plus, which is holding back on production. Gold also continues to fall on the back of a rising dollar, is now at $18.47 an ounce. Mind you, COVID concerns not helping gold either, as the dollar keeps rising, and that means that larger amounts of money moving in to the US dollar from gold, which means that gold is sinking. When you look at the dollar index as well, it was up around 0.5% in trade on Saturday, and the dollar index has started the week absolutely flat in early trade today. The 10-year treasury yield is also just above the 1.54% mark, and Bitcoin has sank below the $60,000 mark to start this week off. That's a roundup of how global markets have started this week and how they performed across last week as well as on Friday.